let's talk minor. In order to understand minor scales, minor chords, how everything works, we have to understand how the major scale works and why we hear the progressions we hear in the major scale. All right, so let's do that by listening. Here is the C major scale. When I get here, you want it to do that. When I'm coming down, you want it to do this. And the reason why you want it to do that is that half step in between 3 and 4, and then half step in between 7 and 8. But it's really this interval, this beautiful interval that's in between the 7 and 4 of the scale. This interval is inside of the 5 chord. Here's our 5 chord. It's G dominant 7, 1, 3, 5, 7. In the 3 and 7 slots, we have that interval. If the 3 is in the bottom, it wants to resolve inward. If the 3 is in the top, it wants to resolve outward. So having a dominant 7 as the 5 chord creates the tension and release that makes scales work. So if we want to make a harmonic minor scale, a scale that works with chords in minor, we need to make sure that the 5 chord is a dominant 7. But first, let's look at the minor sound. So let's take our major triad. To make it minor, we lower the 3rd. Now I have a minor chord. If we're going to make a scale on this chord using the notes from C major, I'm in C here, and I alter that one note, the 3rd was lowered. I have 1, 2, lowered, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. It has the 5 chord in there that's dominant, which is awesome. And then it can resolve to a minor 1. This scale is actually called melodic minor, but the problem with it is the 4 chord. The 4 chord is still major. So here's the 4 chord if I only lowered the 3rd from E to E flat. And then I can go to 5, and then it can go to a minor 1. But it kind of just sounds like I'm in major. Nothing about that sounds like I'm in minor territory until I get to 1. So what we need to do is we need to alter another note. We need to make the 4 chord also minor. That's going to give the whole chord progression thing a minor flavor. So in the key of C, the 4 chord is F. And I'm going to take the 3rd of that chord and I'm going to lower it. So now I've lowered 2 notes compared to the major scale, or parallel to the major scale. I've lowered the 3 to E flat. I've lowered the 6 to A flat. So I have E flat and A flat. 1, 2, lowered 3, 4, 5, lowered 6, 7, and 1. Now my 1 chord's minor, my 4 chord is minor, and my 5 chord is dominant. And then that really sounds minor to me. And it also has the pull that makes chord progressions work. So we have a minor 1, we have a minor 4, and we have a dominant 5. This scale is called harmonic minor, and it's called harmonic minor because it has harmonic tension in it, the tension between chords, and it also has that minor sound. Now, we've been looking at the chords parallel to the major. That means that the note we're starting on, the tonic, does not change. So we said 1, 2, lowered 3, 4, 5, lowered 6. That is the C harmonic minor scale. And if we're thinking about it parallel to the major, the 3rd is lowered and the 6th is lowered. Now let's talk about it relative to the major. So when I'm talking about things relative to the major, the notes stay the same. What changes is the starting pitch. So here is like the key of C major starting on D. All white keys, but this is relative to the major. Here is the key of C starting on G. These are actually called modes. And there's one mode that has 2 of our boxes checked for a minor tonality. So if I start the key of C starting on A, and now if I look at the chords that come from this, it has a minor 1 and it has a minor 4. The one problem with it is its 5 chord is also minor. That sounds weird, doesn't it? But if I raise that note, it does have the dominant sound. So a scale that comes from the 6 of the major, that's relative to the major, that is called the relative minor. So if I'm in the key of C, the relative minor is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is A. If I'm in the key of G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the relative minor is E. You can either count up, you can know your scale degrees, or you can count down. So if I'm in the key of E, 1, 7, 6. The 6 is the relative minor. And what that allows us to do is, since there's only one note that is changed, we can easily shift between the major scale and the relative minor. And it's just a cool, fun thing to do temporarily within a progression, or it's just a way to totally shift the mood of a song and to go into minor for a little bit. So if I'm in the key of C, and if I'm just popping along in the key of C, I'm doing key of C things. If I put in the 5 chord of the relative minor, which is A, so the 5 chord in A harmonic minor is E dominant, I've put that in there. Oh, and then I go to the 6, that just put me in a minor spot, but it did it in a fun way. I'll do it again. So here's my 3. You hear that chord right there? I am temporarily going to the 6, and that's a really cool sound. So the relative minor is from the 6th note of the major scale. Now let's look at the triads that come from the harmonic minor scale. So we already know that the 1 is minor, the 4 is minor, and the 5 is major. And that actually creates all the notes inside of our scale if we take all those notes separately. But it also can create different triads. So we have a minor 1, we have a diminished 2, we have an augmented 3, we have a minor 4, we have a major 5, we have a major 6, we have a diminished 7, and a minor 1. Now, like the augmented 3, probably don't hang on it that much. But all these other chords are used inside of a progression. If I want diminished 2 to a 5 to a 4 to a 5 again, and then to a 1, that is a minor progression right there. Now in 7th chord land, we have a minor major 7 as the 1 chord. We have a half diminished 7 as the 2. We have a major 7 sharp 5 as the 3, a minor 7 as the 4. We already know we have a dominant 7 as the 5. We have a major 7 as the 6, and we have a fully diminished 7 as the 7, and then a minor major 7 as the 1. If you go to the 1 chord in a minor and you're doing 7ths, you're probably not going to just hang on that, because it has this thing in there, and it's not that stable, but it's definitely used like, my funny Valentine, sweet comic Valentine. Like, it is used in passing. There's some jazz standards that have some minor major 7 in it, but you can definitely use like the 2 chord half diminished to like my 5 chord, to like a minor 4, to a major 6, and to a 5, and then to a 1. And that's the minor tonality.